Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing.
Hi everybody, Mike Beer here with a look at the first of two graded stakes races on the turf course at the Belmont at the Big A meeting on Saturday afternoon. The first of the two stakes races is for the fillies and mares. It's the Grade 3 Noble Damsel, $150,000 purse, 3-year-olds and up. They're going to go 1 mile on the turf course, and it's going to go early on the card as race number 3, as you can see here from the entry card. Only got a field of 5, so they'll get this thing out of the way early. Be very interesting to see how the race is bet. I think, first of all, I think, the first thing you have to decide is, how is this race going to be run? Doesn't feel like they'll be going a very fast clip early in this race with such a short field. And you do have horses who, if nothing else, at least they're coming into this race in, pretty good form. I mean, you have a couple of horses, like Kept Waiting, who's down on the rail, is going to stretch out here off of a new top figure victory in her most recent start, off of a bit of a layoff. Plum Ali is the 2. She's just, been in good form. She's not exactly a winning type, I wouldn't say, but she just shows up every single time. She's very, very consistent. She has good tactical speed. She's got a good post on the inside here. She likes the Aqueduct turf courses. It's pretty easy to make a case for her. Both the 3 and the 4, Evie Jets and Messidor, they're both coming into this race also in very good form. Perhaps the number 4, Messidor, could be a little pace compromised here. The number 5 is the sort of the outsider, Porque No, who is going to ship in from off of a couple of starts at Colonial Downs that didn't, go very well for her. She's drawn to the outside, but she's got a little bit of speed, and she is a prior stakes winner on the grass. So, there are things to like about her as well. We'll start off, talking about the race by looking at the time form US pace projector. As sort of alluded to in the open there's just not a lot of pace in this race. The time form US pace projector does give it a blue bar scenario, which just means that they think it's going to favor horses on or near the early lead, and they have the one Kept Waiting as the pace setter in this race, which is entirely possible. Kept Waiting is not exactly a burner. She's not some kind of wicked fast horse from the gate, but she is stretching out for the first time in nearly 2 full years. The last time that she went any distance beyond 7 furlongs was back January 31st of 2021 at Santa Anita, and she finished 3rd that day in an allowance race on the grass at Santa Anita. Since then, it's been all sprints. I think what you have to like about Kept Waiting is not only the tactical speed that she has from the inside, it's just that she's in good form right now. She was claimed at the end of 2020 for $40,000, while still a maiden, by the way, by trainer Rob Falcone. And since that claim, Kept Waiting is 6 for 12. She has won 4 of those races on the grass. Now, they're all sprint distances, but she's just very consistent. She is a stakes winner on the dirt since Falcone has taken over. Her turf form is obviously just rock solid. It's all about whether you feel like the mile is going to be too far for her. I don't see why that would necessarily be the case. I think she can get this distance, especially if she gets some kind of a soft trip on the lead. I can't really, sit here and knock her form. She is 2 for 2 over this turf course here at Aqueduct. She's in, just again, in very good form here, and there's probably a good trip coming for Kept Waiting because that's what she does. She gets good trips. I think the things that you wouldn't necessarily like about her is you probably can't get much price on her here, and she is a horse who has plenty to prove as she steps, back up into a much tougher race for this New York bred. She also gets Irad Ortiz on her back for the second time. Irad rode her last time to a new top figure win. He has ridden her once before, actually a couple times before in the turf, and she won both of those races as well. So obviously Irad fits her, but it also is going to pull some money in the direction of Kept Waiting. I'm not sure how short a price I would want on her in this field, although she can obviously win. The 2 is Plum Ali. Again, I think she's really easy to make a case for. 1 for 7 last year as a 3-year-old, but that doesn't really describe the kind of campaign she had. She was good from start to finish last year and was just compromised several different times by either pace or trip or both. And while she was keeping just top company with the 3-year-old fillies throughout the entire year, finally, when they got to the end of that campaign in November right here at Aqueduct, they just got tired of her, I think, being compromised by trip. And Manny Franco, who was back aboard in this race, Manny Franco just put her on the lead in that Winter Memory. She went wire to wire and won that race with an 88 buyer. So it was nice to see her close out that campaign that way. And then they came back for her first start this year as a 4-year-old, and she kind of just sort of picked up where she left off. Let's take a look at the replay of this. We're going back to mid-April here at Aqueduct, also 1 mile on the turf. And if this is the Plenty of Grace Stakes, and Plum Ali just comes right back and runs another good racer. She set a really nice trip, just sort of backed off the pace early. It's only a 4-horse field. She rated stalking the leaders, edging to the outside there as they came to the stretch, as you saw, and she just takes over and gamely runs down technical analysis in this race. I just thought that she ran really well here. It was a nice kicking off point to the 4-year-old campaign for this filly. And then, her next 2 starts, I didn't think that she ran that well. They put her on the lead in the Bogey, and she just really didn't run well at all and wound up finishing last in that race. They took her up to Woodbine to run in a grade 2 up there, and she wound up finishing sort of an even 4th, and I didn't think she ran a great race. But her 2 starts since then, I think they've both been pretty good, just sort of tracking along in good trips in both of those races. The most recent of those at Pimlico going 9 furlongs. She just got wired by a horse who got loose on a slow pace. Now, Plum Ali was the horse who turned her loose. She could have made the lead in that race, but they decided not to go for it. And once again, it wound up sort of costing her, but I still thought she ran well in there. Cutting back to a mile, fine for her. She can get a good trip in here. Easy to make a case for. We'll see what kind of price she is. The 3 is Evie Jets. Got her very first attempt in Stakes Company in her last start, the grade 3 Athenia. That was 9 furlongs. They put her on the lead. She went a very slow pace without any pressure. She was sprinting through the stretch. And I feel like she just didn't see out that 9 furlongs there. She got run down by the favorite, Love and Thunder, in the very late stages of that race and settled for second best. But another horse who comes in here off of a new buyer top. She ran really well in there. She had come into that race in really good form going shorter distances. She doesn't need the lead to be effective, but she has plenty of speed. If they don't go in here, Eric Cancel could certainly try to take the bull by the horns here and put this horse on the lead. I just like this horse. She has a lot to prove as a stakes horse. Obviously, this is going to be her second start in Stakes Company. But I kind of feel like she's up for it, and I really like her versatility as well, and I like her cutting back to the mile in here. She's a horse who I think is a major contender in here, even though, you could say with the horse right to her inside, Plum Ali, and the horse right to her outside, Messidor, maybe she's in a little tough. I think she can win this race, though. The number 4, Messidor, and I think she's just a major player in here. It's been sort of hard to get a read on her since she arrived stateside as a 3-year-old last summer at Saratoga. That Saratoga Oaks, I feel like she was no factor in there. I kind of feel like that was probably a case where they found out that a mile and 3/16 and any distances around there or even longer are just too far for her. After that, they cut her back to a mile at Belmont. I thought she got pretty unlucky not winning that race. Her next start, again, 1 mile at Belmont in an allowance race. She got really unlucky that day. She was clearly best, but got blocked in the stretch and couldn't get there. Got clear way too late. They cut her back to sprint at the end of the campaign. She won from well off the pace going 6 furlongs. That was a good performance, so they came off the layoff this year. They sprinted her again. I really don't think that she's a sprinter, but it's not a bad place to start this horse off because she is pretty versatile. After that race, going 6 furlongs, they went to Belmont. She was really good on Belmont Stakes Day. She got a great trip and ride from Castellano in that June 10th race, but she also really ran there and was much the best winning that race. I thought in the Perfect Sting too, but she took a little bit of a blind switch as they came to the stretch there, and then she got out-finished at the end, but I still feel like she ran pretty well in there. Sort of after she got blind switched, she sort of wound up in and among horses, needed room, and she eventually got it, but it was too late in there. The winner already had the jump on her. She came back at Saratoga going a 2-turn mile, much as she will here on Saturday. And we'll take a look at the replay of that race right now because Evie Jets is also in here. And Evie Jets runs really well, getting the jump on Messidor, but this is Messidor coming from last. Evie Jets right in front of her. Evie Jets is going to run by the leaders to take over, and then Messidor is going to come right over the top of her and win this with a really strong finish. Another horse coming into this race off of a new buyer top. Is she pace compromised a little bit in here? That is certainly possible, and I think it's something that you have to concern yourself with if you want to be betting her in this race, but I think she's a nice fit in here. I think this is a great distance for her. I like her recent form. I think she's actually even a little bit underrated. We'll see if she can get the right kind of trip in here, and then we'll see what kind of price she is. The 5's Porque No, and listen, I'm not going to knock her. I can't say that I like her that much in this race, but she does have some speed. Again, she is a stakes winner on the grass going back to last summer at Monmouth Park, where she got to the lead and then got clear late to win the Boiling Springs. Prior to that, she had won 4 straight starts on the turf, beginning with a maiden claiming win down at Gulfstream Park. So she was a decent 3-year-old. When they stepped her up to some tougher races towards the end of last year, didn't really work out for her. She was forward in those races and then just no match, either the Virginia Oaks and then at Belmont Park and the Glen Cove. But she's come back, a new buyer top off the layoff this year when finishing 5th in the Miss Liberty. Her last 2 races, leave a little to be desired, but she's probably the longest shot on the board in here, and she's got some speed. So, if you like her, I don't think you could sit here and look at this race and say that she's impossible. I'm not taking Poor K No in this race, but I'm not going to sit here and knock her either. I was kind of against the 2 horses on the inside and the outside. Not that I don't think that that either one of them could wind up winning here, but I sort of got it down to the 2, 3, and 4. And I'm just going to take Messidor on top. I'm going to put the picks up there now. I went 4, 3, 2. I know that Messidor could be compromised by perhaps the way this race is going to be run without a lot of pace to set her up. I just like her form. I like this distance for her. I thought she was really good, overcoming, overcoming a last to first trip in her most recent start at Saratoga and running right by Evie Jetson there. So I'm just going to take her here and hope that she's not the favorite and hope that she can, make a similar late run into this race. But it's a fairly competitive group here for such a compact field of only 5 in the Grade 3 Noble Damsel. It's one of the stakes races on the turf on Saturday at Belmont at the Big A. This one's going to go early as race number 3, approximate post time 1:42 Eastern time. Good luck.